do have that stemming effect into this next print on inflation. It'll be interesting to see how Chair Powell and also the administration deal with this, because we've been going down for the last few months. Now we could get a lift. Now, is that going to be a long-term impact? That's the real question, because obviously a lot of this will play into where many of these things are going, and that means volatility. So here's Larry Fink talking about what to look for in volatility over the next little bit. Take a look.
The markets need certainty. In Europe, there's $12 trillion of money sitting in bank accounts in Europe. In the United States, there's $11 trillion sitting in money market funds. The U.S., and as I wrote in an editorial on Election Day in the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. economy needs a 3% growth rate to overcome its deficits. And I do believe what President Trump is trying to do, I believe consistent with what
A lot of people were talking about where was this liquidity coming from? How was it flowing through? Here was a lot of the ETF analysts breaking it down. Take a look.
Who's buying? It's been interesting to watch this shift over the course of the 16 or so months that we've had these ETFs in the US. At the outset, it certainly was predominantly retail. And what we've seen is this pretty striking pattern where every single quarter, the percentage
Meet Kazim,
retail
a
goes
British
down,
Nigerian
and the
entrepreneur who
percentage
started
that's institutional or wealth advisory goes up.
Our odds approval for like Solana XRP spot went from 1% to 50. Now, they're now up to 70 because there have been no withdrawals. Just real quick, do you think they're going to allow ETH staking in the ETH ETF?
I don't want to forecast that.
Okay, can you answer that too?
Yes, it has to happen through legislation, and my answer is yes.
Okay.
Quick poll. Raise your hand if you think Bitcoin hits newer all-time highs later this year. Just want to see how bullish the crowd is.
Bullish.
Oh my gosh, so there we go. Okay.
All right, so a little bit of fun there, but I think the point is they're getting at institutional, definitely in a position right now. And with the amount of liquidity on the sidelines, this could be one of the key points right before summer that starts to move into this. And remember, it's very possible that crypto may not act the same way as the S&P 500 because people can trade it so much more freely. And when you look at 24/7 markets, 365, it does kind of change the philosophy of how you go about trading. Coinbase institutions are also talking about this. This is them kind of breaking down, you know, the amount of other cryptos that are starting to get some attention, and even VCs in terms of investment. Take a look.
Bitcoin, you know, everybody here is Bitcoin crazy because most people, are, if they're into crypto, they're really into Bitcoin. What do you make of these other currencies, and how should we think about that?
So the narrative I like to think about is, well, there's Bitcoin, there's about top 20 tokens which have real utility, trying to solve real problems. The stack below that I think of as a venture capital pool. So if you're investing in venture capital, you generally have a portfolio theory where you know that a meaningful portion of your portfolio is not going to succeed. Mm-hmm. Some will tread water, and if you're lucky, you'll have a couple of huge winners. I think thinking about crypto that way is a good narrative because it's fairly easy to create a coin. People create coins for fun. They create coins to solve business problems. They create coins to solve social problems. So I think if you view it as a venture capital portfolio, you can risk adjust it appropriately.
That's interesting. Venture capital portfolio. I think some of the tokens I would agree, yes, definitely a high risk portfolio. But I think some of the blue chips are in a little bit of a different class, and I think that may work out in the markets overall, especially around how most people are going to be going into some of these altcoins in the near future. The other thing that plays into this is kind of the concept of digital gold. And when you look at digital gold, we've talked about this quite a bit, the key is tokenized assets. We're going to start to see this come into a variety of areas. RWAs are exploding. The likelihood of expansion in that area around not only securities, but many other asset classes is real. Here's a clip where Pantera Capital talks a little bit more about this. Take a look.
previous panel was talking about the scalability. We've been invested in Arbitrum, Starkware, Bloxroute, a bunch of projects that are massively scaling. Our view is it's kind of like the dial-up. To broadband moment. It was not that functional, and now it's getting very functional. One of the transactions that's happening right now that I love, I've been waiting for 12 years. I think digital gold is now overtaking old school gold.
What an interesting statement, because I would agree with that. We're starting to see more movement on that. We've talked about it quite a bit with some of the key people out there within the gold industry. I'm just kind of curious, when you guys are investing, is a digital gold framework even something that you're looking at around, alternative asset classes? Or are you looking at securities and things of that nature? One note on that, and that is, who are the new IPOs that you could maybe, because a lot of people will say, hey, Paul, I like the S&P, but or crypto, but I'm staying with the S&P 500.